Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Marta. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you.
Good. So we're doing an interview on you and your publishing company today.
Yes, thank you.
Can you tell us about the name of the company, your name, and where you're from?
My name is Victoria Freudiger, and I'm from Colorado, but our business is in North Dallas, and I've been here in North Dallas 16 years. We have owned the company for a little over 25 years. The company name is Digital Media, and we publish books and ebooks all over the world and all genres except for erotica.
Okay, so let's share the screen here. So this is the website.
Yes, and there's a link called Services. And what that will show people is examples of different types of services. But we do editing, we do proofreading, we do publishing, books, ebooks, I do prints. If you have your Adobe file, I can make sure you get a beautiful print of the file without you having to publish with us.
I'm going to go through it here. This is the history, and it started in 1996.
This portion of it did, yes. We started in 1986. Portrait Highway did, yes.
And this is your team.
Yes. That's correct. And there's quite a few members in the team here. We have Margie Mercury, who does our PR. We have Linda Phillips, who is our book cover designer. Kristen Lindsay is a book cover designer. They also do children's illustrations. Thomas is the business manager. Elga Heyman White is a director, and also she has been working with me and alongside me 14 books later. So we've been together for a long time. I'm fortunate enough to have met her. She lives in Colorado, and she means a great deal to me. We've been really fortunate in being able to meet our authors. It was a pleasure meeting you a few years back. You came to North Dallas area, and we went to a little bookstore together and just spent some wonderful time, you and me and Billy, and just was super. I feel lucky and blessed to be able to meet our authors. I met about probably 20 altogether out of 300, which is not a lot, but 600 products later, at least I know some of my authors very personally. So
yeah, you helped me write my 2 books, and I couldn't have done it without you. You walked me through every step of the way, and you're such a great editor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody that I've talked to so far about your company, they're very impressed.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So what's the store here where people can get your books?
This is where our products are sold. And you'll see 2 images of the covers. That is because one is an ebook and one is a print style book. Some of them, of course, are CDs or DVDs, and there are some paintings that are sold from storybooks, because I believe painters are telling a story when they paint a painting. I love art just almost as much as books. Yeah, I've loved books since I was a little child, so I probably didn't notice the paintings when I was a little child, but I was carrying around the little book and writing like I was an editor already. So
let me ask you some questions. What was the very first company?
Portrait Highway. Yes, I loved poets, and I loved communicating through poetry without using just everyday dialogue. And I would post, and this is back in the 80s, and I would post my poetry, and people would make comments about it. This was before websites were really even popular. This was just kind of just out there in the airwaves. And
Right.
I mean, people won't know what I'm talking about, but some people will. And I actually met my husband through him reading some of my poetry and reading my bio, and him connecting by just seeing the type of person that I was, somebody literary and that type of thing. But we're still happily married 16 years later. There is Adam D'Angelo's poem, and he built Poetry Highway, the first one, and built the first Storybooks website. He's also worked on digital media some. He's writing a book about, it's called The Book of Kind. It's an amazing book. He's an incredible writer. It's like something you've never even heard of before. But it's like I met him because I called up a technological company, and just by chatting with him and working through how to fix my website, he said, I can tell here you're a book publisher. Would you take a look at my book? And I'm like, yes. That happens to me a lot,
Right.
Even on vacation, especially on vacation. I'm going to run against somebody, that says, what do you do? By sitting and waiting for pizza is how I met Kristen. Her father was there to pick up a pizza, and he asked me what I did, and I told him. He said, oh my goodness, my daughter would love to meet you. She wants to be, work in the book business, and she's an artist. And
So
next thing I met Kristen, and she's been with me for 5 years. So
I have another question for you. What key or secret have you had in regarding to doing business that has saved you in all these years from going out of business, like some of the other publishers?
I would say that the key is to always realize that there's going to be parts of the year that you're not going to be busy, that things aren't flowing as rapidly as they should be or could be, or that they flow during the other parts of the year. And it's to have a reserve. You're going to need a reserve for staff situations. You will need a reserve for books that you had printed and the author changes their mind, and you can't not pay the printer. You still have to pay the printer. It's just having a reserve. And if you don't, and you move from author to author to author, you're going to run into a situation, and it's going to halt too many other.
Right.
It's an imbalance. And that key truly is to do honest business, and to know that, moving from one account to the other, it really needs to be that person's money that paid for the agreement, paid the editors, paid paid every bit of it, paid for their own printing, not borrowing it from Paul to pay Peter.
Right. Okay. So in the 27 years you have been in the world of books, what has been your most rewarding experience?
I have so many rewarding experiences, but one that comes to mind was working with Bud Bouchard and Sam Sauls, and going to a really upscale but really nice and antique feeling type record store to do the book signing for the Something Else show.
Right.
And the Something Else show was a dance show that was in Dallas, Texas in the 60s. and Bud and Sam worked there. And so we spent a couple of years, 2 years, which is normal for some of our books. A year is normal for some of them, but 2 years if I'm going to get them just like I like them. But we went for this book signing, and it was not a small room. It was a large room. And we were all of a sudden, it's like a flood opened, and here came all these people to sign, to have the books purchased, and to have Bud and Sam to sign the books. And it was amazing. I've gone and to other book signings. Robbie Barrett's book signing for his book about the Gulf was a wonderful experience. The experience of Alabama Face and her being the poet who got an HBO show. I mean, this list is this long.
Cool.
Yes, it is cool, actually.
So during your career, what was your hardest lesson with regard to working with printers?
That if you don't pick, sooner or later, you'll learn to find a local printer. That's number one. Because for me, I don't know about everybody, for me, an important moment of the author's life is the day that they get their books. Okay. I want the day that anyone gets their books, I want them to be able to open the box and find dry books, not wet and soggy like Deb Schramm got many years ago in Canada, and broke our hearts, mine and hers. And then we had to wait for the printer to reprint them. But it was FedEx's problem. Well, they covered it. But the moment's over. The feeling of it was over. But then just learning that you can go to the printer, you can pick out your paper, you can pick out your cover, the stock, you can design it. You can do something besides call ABC printers and they, send out a book that looks like everybody else's.
Right.
And I like to look at the genres, and this is how integrated it is for me. I want to go to a bookstore. I want to look at the same genre you're writing in, and I want to see what their paper is. I want to see what their covers are. I want to do something a little better than what I see on the shelf.
Yeah, so you helped me with my books, and this is one of them, The Shield and the Eight Immortals.
Yes.
And then we also did The Water Daughter.
I'm going to remember, I think, every word of The Water Daughter for as long as I live. And I say that with love. I don't say that with aggravation. I say that with love. I mean.
Yeah, I think it took 2 years to write that book.
I love that cover every time you go by it. But when you and I were going through that, what I was experiencing is my own growth through your words, and you were experiencing growth through learning how to edit.
Yeah.
And so we were both having ahas all the time.
Well, I've never even written a book before, so I was like, VicToria, help me. And you were saying, okay, this is how you do it. And we went through every single word and every chapter over and over again. And again, like I said before, I could not have done this book without you. You were the one that birthed this book into the world.
Thank you. And Grant Vosper was also with us on the Water Daughter part of the way. And he would jump on the phone with me and tell me how much he loved it. And of course, then I'd reread it, because he'd love it so much. And then I'd read it again. So, I mean, it just got better and better all the time.
And you helped me to think about where the what genres I was writing in, because it was personal experience, spiritual and metaphysical, but it was also accurate information.
Exactly.
So you kind of helped me bring it all together.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because I've never myself worked with a publisher. So I don't know if everybody does that with their writers. But one of the things that one of our newest writers, Spencer Conley, and I talked about the other day is where we would put his book and we walk through, well, here's 6 choices, but in these 6 choices, which genre would he have an easier chance of becoming a bestseller in?
Right.
And like we put yours in speculative fiction instead of just fiction, because how many books are in fiction?
Right.
2 million, and then over in speculative, maybe 100,000. So yes, your chances are much better there. It's also, for your book, it was more the truth.
Yeah, it was also something where you're dealing with a little bit of experimentation. It's a kind of a revolutionary thing and a controversial thing to use yourself as the protagonist in your book, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's kind of like branding.
Yes, it was very much branding. And we plan to do the same thing with Spencer's books. And I've tried to do with everyone's. But we do a lot of memoirs. Doing the book right now with Anne-Marie. And she's a lady who survived the Rwanda. And what a spiritual, rewarding book to be able to edit. I'm editing something that is a miraculous time event for someone who's now willing to share with the world how she survived. I mean, it's like someone dropped a gift at my front door and said, treasure this, and I do.
Yeah. Okay, here's another question. So do you treat any client that you work with that are self-published any different than you do with people who publish with you?
No, I do not. Really, in the book business, once you put your published emblem on there and you've put copyright and you've given them the copyright, the author the copyright, which is the way it should be, then you're really, all you've done is just indicated your support for the author.
Right.
And that support's a permanent thing. But I would give that support to any author that came to me. They do not need to publish with us. But if I use the digital media emblem because we've edited, it's the same thing. I just don't put published by. And I'm not going to run around tracking the book to see where all it went and landed, and, who has the time to do all that? So I'm just really trying to help everyone to have a really good book.
So in your website, you have over 600 books. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. I've worked myself. I've worked with over 300 authors. Now, as far as other publishers, in the very beginning, I worked as an editor for some publishers that are no longer in business. Not because of anything I did, because I would say my first answer give away why they're not there.
Well, you're so prolific, and the fact that you worked with all of these authors and you've published all these books, I mean, you really know what you're talking about.
Thank you. Thank you. And there's Linda Phillips' books. That's one of the best things I could tell you ever. She came to us when Artie Foster needed to step aside, and Linda came and she said, well, I know a little bit about books and I could come on board as a proofreader, but I don't know what else I can do. And that was about 10 years ago. She now has 6 books or 7 books of her own. She's probably done book covers for 30 or 40. She's done children's drawings and I don't know how many books. And there isn't anything she can't do. You know, she's a hero.
Cool. Okay, so let's see. What has been the most fun you've had with your writers, and what was the genre of their books?
The most fun we had was a meet and greet, and what we had was 12 authors come to a meet and greet. I rented a really nice little area, and people came from other states, as far as Ohio. Jim Bentley came from Ohio. I would have a hard time remembering everybody, but we had a speaker come in from California, and she taught and spoke about the beginning of ebooks. Isn't that funny? So, you know.
Right, you guys are like, what?
Yeah, she was Nancy Arvizu, and it was so funny. It was like, okay, it was so brand new, and now it's like, okay. But what I've tried to do is stay up with the times. When something new and fresh and difficult comes out, I'm going to jump on it and learn it. But the meet and greet was not only fun because we had some events and we had some, but the authors met each other and became friends. And some of them will be friends for forever. You know, it's one of those things.
Right.
And they got to meet me in person instead of just talking to me on the phone. But that was a blast. That was a blast.
So how long have you loved books?
Since I was 3 years old. I was a little 2-year-old, 3-year-old child, and was given books, and I would take Crayolas and write in them and take the pages and write on top of the words. And then, like I was editing them, but of course I wasn't, I don't think. But I have only one of those, but I still have one of those. And it's a clear image of how someone could maybe possibly, as they say, be born and it's on purpose what they do.
Right.
Yes, it's on purpose. That's why I'm doing it. I love books.
So you were carrying around a book since you were 3 years old?
Yes, ma'am. Still doing it. I'm going to be 70 years old someday, and I'll be sitting with someone who's 90, and I'll be saying, now you tell me your story, honey.
Cool.
That's
so out of the 3 books that you've written, which one is your favorite?
Oh, I forgot about that question. I don't talk about myself that much. I have a book of poetry, which I did and wrote it and put it out there, and it's out there. If somebody wants to get to know who I am, that's who I am. I wrote a children's book, which is a marketing product for the company so that I wouldn't be shipping my clients books and costing them money.
Right.
And so it's a really beautiful children's book, but I don't know how to write a children's book, so it's nice and it's pretty and it shows what we do, but I'm sure it wouldn't win a children's award. But I worked for years in the newspaper business as an obituary writer, and I wrote personal news of weddings, engagements, and things. And one day I was sitting at the park bench, and I just started looking at this piece of paper, and right along on the piece of paper was this story just totally falling out of my hands. And it was a book called Thorns of a Red Rose. Thorns of a Red Rose is a book that is a serial killer book. And it is macabre.
Oh, no.
It is not unserious. It is an extremely serious, macabre book with very graphic details of the deaths of many people and the burials of them. And then there's the other part of the story is the main woman in the story is actually a suicidal lady. And she finds out about this serial killer and wants him to kill her so that she doesn't go down in history like her mother did as a suicide.
Like a love story.
Yes, but now how do I tie that together with Thorns of the Red Rose?
Right.
But you have to read to find out.
You know, I think it's what we talked about before is that art, when it comes to books and music and art in itself, you have free license to explore your dark side.
Yes.
You know, and it's a good thing because we get to express it without having to live it.
Well, and I at no time, if you ask me what should I do to write a fiction book, I would give you some instructions. And on them, I would say, well, you know, think about who your protagonist is. Think about who his leading lady is. Think about that. I didn't think about anything. It just started all coming out and it wouldn't stop. 276 pages later. Right. I'm like, oh my God, this is sick. I'm like, where did this come from? It's not me. But nobody was with me, and it was my computer.
Right. It was you.
Right.
So
but, I'm not ashamed of it, but I haven't really tried to market it because I'm the book publisher. I don't know that I want to be the macabre book writer, but I'm proud of what I wrote.
Well, you know, like reading a book a day inspired by Tai Lopez it's really amazing. And one of the books that I read was Mark Twain's autobiography, and he had two versions of it of his autobiography: the one that he published during his life, and the one that he published after his death. You know, because he didn't want certain backlash. Right?
Yes.
So there's a lot of publishers that will publish under an alias name, or they'll publish their books when they die. All this. Yeah. I say just release it now while you're still alive, right?
I probably should, yes. And then my memoir, which has been in or on computers for I don't know how long, too long, because I'm a writer. But I wouldn't even really dream of publishing that, but I had it.
Yeah, you could be the next Stephen King.
I know, but I wouldn't even let anyone edit that. Now, that's the other thing I would want everyone to hear before we ever even think about going now, is don't edit your own work thinking that's the thing to do. Please don't.
Right.
Let someone else do it. Please let someone else look at your work.
Yeah, that's good. Great advice. So this is your Twitter, and this is your Pinterest.
Yes, my Pinterest count is I'll really look inside my brain. You can tell how busy I am by going there. If that doesn't tell you who I am, I don't know what would. But it's all about my authors and about some of their work, and it's about some of their paintings. It's about martial arts. I love martial arts. It's about movies. It's about reality TV, because yes, I am one of those. What all we have there, gardening a little bit, flowers.
And this is Digital Media's Instagram?
Yes, it is. That first image right there is of me pointing to the digital wall, and that is the wall into the office. It's just covered with covers that were framed by my husband as a gift to me.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, so as you go working with your publishers, they get a place in your home.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. Well, he has a lot of, what do you call them? degrees and stuff that he's framed of his. And I was always saying, you have so many things, you have so many degrees. And he's been in the military and that sort of thing. And I didn't even realize it. I went in my office and sat down and turned and went out, and I thought, what in the world? Where'd all that come from?
Right.
But he said, this is what we've accomplished. So it wanted me to feel proud. I do.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I have another question. So in the past 5 years, what have you learned the most that makes the entire industry different, and for who?
I would say that the answer to that is a lot of people, and I'm not talking against self-published, but a lot of people came out with ebooks and didn't come out with print books. They came out with ebooks. They didn't have a lot of money. They were probably going through layoffs after some of the catastrophes here in the United States. And they started writing their memoirs or fiction books or nonfiction books. And they hurried it. They used companies that would let them publish no matter what it looked like. There were some in all caps. There were some with no punctuation. There were some with no caps. Books were just coming out everywhere. And now we're inundated with them. And people are starting to say, well, I don't know if I really like ebooks as much as I thought I would. And then, yeah, because if you're I'm serious with you. If you're a real reader, what you want to read is something written correctly, right?
Right.
So, but what's happening now is there are companies like myself, other mid-sized companies that are looking more into taking the printed book and making it more beautiful, so that what we keep is treasures, not just the printed word.
Right. Right. Okay, so do you have an author-publisher experience you would like to share with everyone? That everyone could benefit from?
I do. Gosh, there's so many. Oh, there's so many. It made my heart start kind of beating fast.
I know. Like, how are you going to remember
I know. It just like, that energy is huge amounts of meetings and thoughts and talks and authors. And I mean, it's a wonderful feeling. Thank God I get internally involved with all of it. But what my heart told me to talk about is, if you come to a publisher, you come to us, and you have a book that you want published, don't let anybody talk you into what it should look like or be like or quit. I've had that experience where someone came and Lynn and I put in 200 hours. That's a lot of hours, Marta. And then all of a sudden, the wife got involved. And the whole project went haywire. Everything. We don't like this, don't like that, don't like this, don't like that.
Oh, it's horrible.
Well, and what was so horrible is, but not just me, but her as well, at not just the time, we really liked the author.
Right. Right.
So it was, everything just was like, oh my God, I'm learning life lessons, I'm learning business lessons, I'm learning friend lessons, I'm learning staff lessons, because she was involved too. I mean, it was just, we live on like a third of an acre where we have our business here. And I just went for a long walk, and just put both my hands up and toward the cloud, which I do a lot of. And I just said, okay, guy in the sky, you're going to help me out of this, because this one hurts.
Right.
This one hurts.
You know, doing some of these interviews and talking to authors, they really have to go through a lot to get their books out, because in some cases there's a lot of people and family that kind of interfere with the process of something productive and something that needs to come into the birth into the world. As a publisher, I imagine you got very frustrated when his process was being interfered with.
Yes.
And I think it's very important for creative people to just kind of put blinders on, you know, and just plow through it and get it done. Just do it.
And as strange as it probably seems to you in the world, I'm still missing.
Yeah.
It's not just the book is gone, he's gone.
Maybe one day he'll see this video interview and he'll get his act together, get his book.
Maybe it would be nice that he knew he was still missed.
So what genre do you not work with?
Erotica. Anything just too spicy.
Right.
We have a family environment, and I would like to keep it that way. I know they make a lot of money, and I know a lot of readers are out there, but all of our shades are neutral over here. Shades of gray.
Neutral shades of gray.
Yeah,
That's great. That's great. Good. So if an author's books do not sell well, do you remove them from the online storefront, or do you keep selling them?
They're not removed unless requested by the author. And we do not have any books up on the website if we don't have prints of them. So anything you see, you can get. We're not a print-on-demand company, and we're a real publishing company. We publish, print, and keep.
You're what?
We're a real publishing company. Real being in italics. But we publish, print, keep it. We don't, which means a lot of inventory.
Right.
Yes.
So where do you think the publishing world is going in the future?
I think what we've had happen just in the last few months with all of these hurricanes and all the flooding and people losing so much, it causes people to reevaluate their lives and want to share their experiences. And if you think of a news anchor guy out there treading water all the way up to his waist, which reminds me of some of the times we've done work, but he's basically, with that camera, he's writing a story.
Right.
And I believe that that's what's going to start coming our way, is we'll get some really, really deep stories out of people that have gone through these experiences in all these states, and as far away as Mexico, as you all know, and Puerto Rico, and people who don't want anyone to know their business will dig deep and they'll write children's books to bring levity and lightness to their life. And I think those are the two genres that will be really booming soon.
Cool. So let's go through your links one more time.
All right.
So that our viewers can.
It's the main company website, Digital Media.
And this is your phone number here and your email.
Yes.
And they can contact you through your social media sites too.
Yes, VicToria Freudiger. And my Facebook link is Entryway Publishing at Facebook. And then my Entryway company was absorbed by Digital a couple of years ago. So we don't have it any longer, but I have thousands of people that I know because of having it. So I'm still there. And then we have Twitter account is Need Validation. And what that is an account that I have started a few years back. And what we do is tweet positive thoughts and positive ideas, and it has a little bit to do with reality TV. We're basically validating people, letting them know that they count, that they're thought about, that they're real, that they matter. Another little anchor off of digital media is a company called Need Validation, and we can be found on Twitter. And what Need Validation is an area where we talk with people, interact with people about life, about feeling validated, being cared for, feeling important. I have a lot of writers there, but mainly what we're doing there is bringing about a positive environment so that when someone wakes up on a daily basis, they can go there and see some ideas from different people. And there is some mixture of reality TV in there.
Cool. I like
But
it.
what happens in reality TV as far as social media is they're really basically validating that these guys that go out there and act as much as they do and as long as they do in those shows.
Yeah. Great.
Yep. Now we're back to home.
So I will be writing another book, and I hope to be going through your company again.
Oh my goodness! What better way to make my day?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. What is the title?
Well, right now I'm kind of mulling through it, but it's going to be a more of a accurate information-based book.
Ooh.
But it's 80% accurate information and 20% fantasy, 20% fun, right? Get it?
Yeah. Still
have fun while you're writing. So
what's the environment?
It's in the woods.
Ooh.
Learning how to live and survive in the woods correctly.
Oh, that's awesome. I need to do that.
Posh way.
Good.
So I'm excited for.
We can get a little tiny house for you.
So I will send that one of these days, and thank you so much for doing this interview.
Thank you for interviewing me. I want to say hi to everyone that really thinks that they really don't believe that someone else will believe in them, because we sure will.
Yes, you do, and you've proven that over and over again with 600 authors. You're just amazing. So I'm so blessed that we met at the Cambridge, Donald Trump's Cambridge, right?
Yes, we did.
So
I'm proud of that.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see where your company goes in the next couple of years.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate you interviewing our authors and being part of us too.
Thank you, VicToria. We will talk soon.
All right, have a blessed week.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.